Okay, here is a request for South Korean singer from BTS, Jimin. Nice hands, nicely shaped hands, nicely shaped fingers, very powerful in so many different ways. And there's something about he's shy. I would think he's very shy because his first finger to Jupiter. He may be great on stage, but I think deep down inside he's somewhat shy. He's got a good line of heart, which shows that he's got strong love within him, and he's got a good headline, so he's probably very practical in all the ways that he thinks. But the power in this guy is home and family and the right kind of loving. He's going to find the best in life and find peace of mind about everything when it is connected to a family and marriage and stuff like that with the right person. His thumbs are pretty high set, which means he hasn't had too many lifetimes, so therefore he is kicking the can down the road, learning as he goes on. There's a little bit of stubbornness in his thumbs. He thinks he knows everything, but he really doesn't, but he's learning on the job. And he's also got this heart-shaped hand, which shows that he does have loving tendencies within himself. The passion is strong coming out of Venus here, and the fingertips are very, very long and very, very powerful, which indicate a lot of power coming out of the fingers of itself, coming out of the fingers of fate, luck, coming out of the fingers of incarnations of past, and coming out of the finger of Mercury here. Now, he's going to have to get some more education about life itself on this earth plane. He thinks he knows it all, he thinks he's one of the boys, and he can do whatever he wants. But he's got a wake-up call coming, and I think it's all got to do with falling in love with somebody very, very special. Here is a request from Ayla for South Korean singer from BTS V. Well, he has a strange hand. The power is in the fingertips here. The first finger shows scattered energy in some way, shape or form, and it could well be nervous in different ways, but he wouldn't show it. His feet are on the ground because it's all about himself. He wants people to see him as he really wants to be seen. Now the finger here coming from Saturn, which is oval, which is round, he could easily be influenced to get into anything that he really wanted to get into. And from past life incarnation, and this kid's lived a lot of past lives, but he's got this block on here, so he doesn't remember most of what was in the past. He may have dreams, he may have experiences and all that kind of thing, especially if he takes drugs, and he should never take drugs. And he comes down here with this block down here, and this finger here of practicality. It's really, really very practical in so many different ways. And the little finger of Mercury is pointed, and that also has to do with being scattered thinking. He's got ideas all the time about what he wants to do, where he's coming from, what it's all about. Good line of heart, so he does show that there's love in his soul. But the headline, that's very, very messy. It goes for a period of time and then it changes. That's why I'm saying he should be very, very careful about drugs, alcohol, anything like that. And then the lifeline is very coming and going. He doesn't quite know where it's coming from. And there's no energy in his passion. He may think a lot and he may do a lot, but the real passion comes down here in the material, in the metaphysical aspect of it. He could have a spiritual nature. He could be drawn to that later on, maybe not now. But there's a lot of energy loss coming out of that, coming out of the upper Mars, coming through the Neptune into the Pisces, into the great bracelets here, that could give him some discomfort in his life. Now the thumb is kind of messy. They're coming out of Venus. The Venus shows that there was a lot of stress in his life, and the thumb now is really connected, bringing him into this form of stubbornness, and he could have a chip on his shoulder, and there could be a lot of stuff coming up in the future that he's going to have to deal with. Here is a request from Anne and a lot of other people too for Korean BTS singer Jungkook. Well, it's interesting because he starts life with a simian line, and that goes on for about 15, 18 years, and then it changes. So something happened to him to absolutely make him change. It could be love, falling in love, falling out of love, getting hurt in some way, shape or form, because the line of heart goes away on here and the line of head goes down here. And it shows there was a lot of discomfort in his early years. It maybe could be having to do with how he felt, what he was, if people made fun of him, or if he was in love, as I said, or not love, but it really shows very, very strong here. And the finger of Jupiter, which is his personality, shows that it's got scattered energy, nervous in so many different ways. Yet he is very clever in his thinking, very clever in his thinking. He has a line of Solomon, so a ring of Solomon there, which has to do with wisdom and power and authority and ability to teach. So he would be a good leader in so many ways, in knowing so many different things, and would attract a lot of people. But these fingers here, this hand is the fingers are much longer than this hand, and it shows that there's two personalities here. One side is strong and powerful, and the other one is soft and easy. And it all happened when this line changed over here. So anyway, he's very diplomatic and logical in a lot of ways. He has understanding of life. He has understanding of people. He will attract attention from both men and women because of the way he is, of who he is, and how he is. But it comes from past life. He's lived a very lot of past lives, and he came into this vibration to put them all together, to clean it up, to see what was important, what wasn't important, and use what he really wants to. And he's learning here very, very strongly in so many different ways. Good quality thumb with good logic and flexibility of will, and the power of passion here is strong going into that thumb, which he's going to be doing what he wants to do and showing what he wants to do and saying what he wants to say. And he's going to have a lot of followers in the future and become very successful. Here is a request from Fida for South Korean singer Suka. First off, I have to tell him that he's got to be careful with his feet. It shows in his down here the sensitivity of his feet. So he does have to look after his feet all his life to have feet problems. Anyway, let's get down here to the little finger of Mercury. Whenever it's twisted like that, he has trouble living with truth. So all the time he may spin the truth, he may see things in different ways, but he's going to have a problem with that. He's going to see it one way, it could be another way, but he's going to bend it to suit himself. Now all these fingers together are very, very interesting because they're spatula shape, and it means it's very practical in so many different ways. Yet I think he's a spiritual being, and I think there's a lot going on within him that he doesn't understand. He's got a very, very strong line of head, and he's got a very, very strong line of heart, which really kicked in around the age of 20 or something, got this feeling about something or somebody, and it really kicked in very, very powerful. Now his line of life is kind of faint. It starts very, very strong with a lot of energy, a lot of power. Then it kind of fades for a period of time, and then something takes him over. He gets into something that it could be trouble, it could be something else. And there comes down here, and it comes out of the Venus there, which is the energy and the purpose. But these two fingers knitted together, lived a lot of past lifetimes, coming out of Apollo here, and the finger of Saturn, which is his karma in this lifetime. There could be a feeling here of lack of personality, not lack of personality, but self-worth or something, that he's got to drive himself. This is why the little finger keeps telling him things are not always the way it is. He's got this thumb, which is nicely low set. It adds an understanding of logic. He sees things, he works it all out. Not always in the best possible way for him, because it's very, very sensitive. But this thumb, the flexibility of his will in this thumb, he can float both ways in all sorts of different directions. But he does have a certain amount of spirituality inside of him, and that's what he should be calling on for help for the future. Here is a request from Mental Breaker for BTS Hope. Well, everybody's born spiritual, but this guy's got a lot of it. He's really full up with it. The real power in his hand. He's got a magic hand. He could have psychic ability. He could have inner knowing. He could be very strong, sensitive in so many different ways. He has a heart-shaped hand, and a very, very good line of heart, which is very, very strong. And he shouldn't deny that in himself. He should just be a lover of himself and the people and the world and everything. It'll bring out the best of him. He's also lacking a little bit in the Venus energy. He needs to boost himself up a bit. He may be sort of self-conscious about, I know I've got these things, but I'm not pushy enough. And he really, really should, because Venus and the upper Mars isn't working very hard on him at this time. It even shows in the logic of the thumb. It's analyzing self, wondering how to be or what to be. Even though he's an old soul, had a lot of experience in lifetimes, his thumb does show that he has willpower, but he just needs a booster in energy. Very, very strong, very, very powerful. His headline is very, very strong too. His fingers are nicely set apart, but that little Mercury finger now, that always gets to me. This is a sign of intelligence. He wants freedom, yet he wants spiritual aspects of life. It's got really, really powerful. It could be religion, it could be metaphysical, it could be all sorts of things. But his fingers are so thin that it's unusual, because usually the heavier they are, the more power they have. But he just jumps around. He should be involved in all sorts of different art. I bet he can dance. I bet he can sing. I bet he can do all sorts of different things very, very well. And his finger of self is very, very strong. See, he wants to be. He's not a group guy. He's an individual. And this is what he should practice. And maybe he'll break away and be a star in his own right one day. Here's a request from Nello Hope for BTS Rap Monster. Well, I can understand why he's got that name. It's very interesting because he has terrific hands, and I'm sure he's full of confidence, and I'm sure he thinks he knows about everything, and I'm sure that he knows what he's doing because he's got this heart line and headline together. Now, I would say that is known as a simian line, but the headline kicks in a little bit later. So he had mind over matter for a period of time, and then somehow love got connected to this guy, and he found the love of, whether it be music, a person, or something else, and then the headline falls away from that. He's got a very low set thumb, means that he's lived a lot of lifetimes. It could well be that he's pretty clear in this lifetime, so he knows what he wants, and he could be very aggressive, he could be obnoxious, he could be all sorts of things because of the confidence of what he knows about. But the finger of Jupiter, which is the personality itself, is trying to prove to himself who he is and how clever he is and what he can do. It doesn't necessarily mean he is that way, but he's trying to prove it to himself. This is the personality. The finger here of Saturn has a bold here, not here, which means it's complicated in this karma this time around. It could be very complicated. Things could be thrown into the works to mess him up in some way, shape or form. He shouldn't drink, he shouldn't be on drugs or anything like that to mess him up. And also the finger of Apollo, which is his talent, is fabulous. Fabulous, but there's also a nod in there, so he could be doing very, very well at some time and also get a mental block and then fizzle a little bit. This pinky finger, the Mercury finger, is also very clever and brilliant and coming down the mental aspect that goes into the line of art. He should be doing love songs. He should be doing music where his relationships and everything would be very, very good for him. And look at the tip of that finger. The tip of that finger is really, really strong in energy, which shows he's hard working, and it also shows that he's very practical in so many different ways. This guy's got a lot. There's a lot more going on in here than there's going on in there. Here is a request from Misunderstood and Aid to You for South Korean singer BTS Jin. Now his hands tell me he has talent because of the length of the fingers. His hands also tell me that he's good at not always telling the truth. He can flip things to the way he wants it. And this comes from the little pinky finger. Anybody with a bent pinky finger or a twisted pinky finger, this is the Mercury, this is the intellect, to turn things around. You'll probably find a lot of politicians have got that same thing. Anyway, he's got a nice square hand, hard-working hand. His thumbs are very, very low set. I think he's lived a lot of lifetimes. Has a lot of different personalities. Has great wisdom in the lower phalanges of his thumb. He's like a mystic in so many different ways, and the flexibility of his will leads him into anything that he wants to do, and he sees everything as being okay. The balance of his fingers are beautiful, and the length of his fingers are, as I said before, are very, very beautiful. And the finger of self tells me that he has confidence in being who he's being, but he likes to be patted on the back. He likes to be recognized. He likes to be seen as something very, very special. It's a very important thing to have this ego thing working for him. Now the finger of Saturn here, that's his structure of life, the karma, the purpose, and the purpose here is coming in the thinking, the being and the doing. He has a very little line of love, which he learns later on in life, and the line at this time, his headline is very, very strong. Again, I see some movement coming down here out of Apollo, which means he's got more talent than he really knows, and more stuff is going to come out of him. And I think he's going to be an independent and do very well for himself.